Hello, bienvenue, welcome back. Check it out. I finally got my shelves and all my collectibles set up again, but that's not what you're here for. What we're here for is cuteness. And if you're looking for cuteness, well, I've definitely got you covered.
やっぱ一発殴っていい？
なんでだよ。
俺の気が済まねえ。
ちょっと待てよ。待て。
My Love Mix-Up is a manga that was later adapted into a drama, and I gotta say, they're both pretty damn cute. So cute, in fact, that I actually went out and bought the manga. The manga pretty much starts off by announcing that this is a silly love story. In fact, they actually have a disclaimer in the manga that says no cinnamon rolls were harmed in the making of this manga. I'm not kidding, that's actually legit. So if you're looking for fluff, this is fluff. Not to mention it is LGBT fluff. It's about a high schooler named Aoki, who has a crush on his classmate Hashimoto, who is the girl that sits beside him in class. But one day for a test, he forgets an eraser, so he borrows the eraser from her. And guess what he finds? He finds the name Ida written on the eraser, who is the boy who sits in front of him. Of course, the boy who sits in front of him turns around and sees this name written on the eraser and assumes that Aoki wrote it. So not only is Aoki absolutely devastated that the girl he likes somebody else, but now the boy in front of him thinks that he likes him. So Aoki goes to clear up this misunderstanding, except Ida thinks that Aoki is confessing to him. And he decides to give it serious thought whether or not he can reciprocate feelings or not. The fact that Aoki is another dude doesn't even enter into the equation. The miscommunication is absolutely adorable, and it leads to a super fun story about teens falling in love. Because how does Aoki clear up this misunderstanding with Ida without throwing Hashimoto under the bus? He doesn't want to expose her, he likes her. And then him and Hashimoto turn into rivals for the same guy, except they're not really. This is a wonderful Japanese coming-of-age story, and given that I've talked about before, I think this is a story that anyone can sit down and enjoy, not just fangirls. One thing that I love about this manga and drama is that it radiates quirky, upbeat silliness. It doesn't have that usual solemn humor that comes with a lot of BL stories. Plus, the jokes aren't at the expense of the characters. Nothing is targeted or mean-spirited. Classmates are supportive, even when Aoki decides to play Cinderella in his class's contribution to the school festival. It's to get Hashimoto out of being pressured into the part. Most manga would have mocked the character for cross-dressing, but his classmates were super gung-ho that he was doing a nice thing. Even better, when Hashimoto finds out that Aoki has actually developed feelings for Ida, she isn't dismissive. She isn't disgusted. She's actually extremely supportive, so much so that they actually become really good friends. And even Aoki's best friend Ida is happy for them, or their teacher, who pretends he doesn't know what's going on, is actually cheering them on in the background. Acceptance and understanding are a trend I'm beginning to see more and more in contemporary manga, anime, and dramas. This is not normally something that you would see in Japanese media, except maybe in fringe art films. You would never see kids being fully honest with their friends and classmates about being in a relationship with someone of the same sex, or coming out to their parents, which, yes, that is something I have seen in recent mangas and animes. So here's the skinny. Homosexuality was never really a big deal in Japan until Christianity kind of descended on the islands of Japan in the form of Jesuit priests that came on trader ships. The first novel ever written is The Tales of Genji, which, by the way, was written by a woman during the Heian period of Japan, which is about 11th century. And the main character, a man named Genji, was attracted to both men and women. Guys, the first novel ever written was about a bisexual dude. How awesome is that? So, of course, eventually the Jesuits in Japan got pushy and the shogun pretty much kicked them out of the country, along with banning Christianity. So either you were thrown out or you were slaughtered. And Japan was closed to everybody for the next 200 years. Nobody came and nobody went. That means if you were in Japan, you couldn't leave. And if you were Japanese and outside of Japan, you couldn't come home. The exception to this, of course, was Dutch traders. They were allowed to come to an island in the south of Japan to trade goods because they didn't have any interest in pushing off their religion. They just wanted to make money, and the Japanese, well, they respected that. But I'm a little off topic. My point is, in Japan, same-sex relationships were kind of whatever. Even now, homosexuality is just one of those things that you don't talk about in Japan. Actually, about 10 years ago, when I was doing research into homosexuality in Japan, I found that most people don't care. And if asked, they would say they don't know anybody like that. And this is probably due to the fact that only about 13% of Japan is religious. Chances are they probably do know somebody who is LGBT. They just don't know it because it's not something that's talked about. I remember reading about the experience of this man who worked for a large company in Japan. Your typical salaryman by all accounts. But he had added his partner to the family registry as an adopted son because they couldn't legally marry. But it gave his partner all the legal rights of family. And when they were at home, well, they wore wedding rings, and on their days off, they enjoyed it together. But as soon as he went into the office, that wedding ring came off. And that part of his life was just a complete secret. For years, the LDP have had rights and bills ready to pass for the protection of same-sex couples. But it's just not a priority. A district court in Sapporo recently ruled that it is unconstitutional not to recognize same-sex marriages, and that was in 2021. This is an issue that everybody seems to be aware of, but nobody has taken the final steps. So you can understand when I say that manga and dramas are actually making progress, that this isn't something to not be talked about. That "but we're both men" is not becoming an obstacle in the relationship. That was always a huge part of accepting the relationship. We're both men, so we can't be together. It's not right. Other people would never accept us. What would our families think? But the huge increase in pro-LGBT manga and media is incredible. My Love Mix-Up has both positive and empowering messages on both sexuality and gender, which are delicate topics to say the least. But the manga and the drama both handle these topics with a certain level of care and gentle humor. Not to mention that we have a bisexual male lead in a shoujo manga. Yes, the plot was cheesy and a bit silly at times, but we don't read shoujo or BL for the realism. We read it for the escape. But that's the other great thing about this, is that it was actually marketed as a regular shoujo, not a BL. Which is why I appreciated it all the more when these light-hearted comedies tackle these heavy issues in a way that we, the audience, can relate. And depicting a positive example of a young man coming to terms with his own identity and sexuality. This story doesn't have a tragic ending, which is something we're beginning to see more and more. And I think this is a good example of the direction that Japanese media is beginning to take. Because BL manga is not something that would typically be turned into a kind of big TV drama. Better yet, the manga is still running, so we're bound to get tons more cute, fluffy moments. So that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like down below and a comment, and if you'd like, subscribe to the channel for more content. Bye!